Hi everyone, welcome to JavaTechie. In the previous Kafka tutorial, we understood the complete Kafka PubSub mechanism, right? Where we publish the plain string message to the topic and from the topic our consumer application consumed it. Even we deep dive more to understand partition and consumer group mapping with examples. But the PubSub system which we designed, will it accept any data type to publish and consume the event? The answer is big no. Let's prove it right away, then we'll find out a solution for it. Okay? Alright. So without any further delay, let's get started. So to verify this behavior, instead of sending the string message to the topic and consumed it, let's send some object. Or let's create some Pojo class which we want to send to the Kafka topic and we want that Pojo need to be consumed by my consumer. So for that what I'll do, I'll simply create a new package DTO. Now I'll create some class here, let's say customer class. Now let's define couple of field. So we have defined ID, name, email and contact number. So we added the lombok, right? So I can use the @data annotation to avoid. Okay, we have not added the lombok. No worries. Go to your pom.xml and then you can add the lombok dependency. Just update it. That's it. Now we can import this statement. So we no need to write the getter and setter because we already added the @data annotation. That's fine. Now I want to send this customer object to the Kafka topic from the producer and I want this customer object need to be consumed by my consumer application. So let's do that. Go to the publisher where exactly we are publishing the message. So let me go to that class. We have defined the publisher, right? So I don't want to touch the existing code, let it be. I'll create a new method. So I'll name it, let's say send events to topic, and here I don't want to send the message, I want to send the object which is customer. Fine. Now everywhere I need to change it. Fine. So I will also change the topic name, that will do later. Now let me send the object. So this is the exact place where we are sending the object. Okay. Earlier we are sending the string message. Now we are sending one custom object which is customer. That's fine. Now we'll call this method from our controller. Go to the controller class. Then simply write another endpoint. So I'll write something like public void send events. Okay. And what type of event I want to send? Customer object. Now simply I can call publisher dot send events to the topic and customer, and I need to define this as a endpoint. So what I'll do, I'll just define post mapping because I want to send the object from the postman, and I need to annotate this at the request body. That's it. I need to define the URL here, publish. Okay. So what we are doing here, from the postman we'll send the customer object in the form of JSON, and then we are giving that to the Kafka template to send this particular customer object to this given topic. Okay. So what we'll do, we'll also change the topic name. So go to the config. This is the place where we are creating the topic. I'll name it JavaTechie demo, and go to the controller class, not controller, go to the publisher class. There also we need to change the topic name. So we want to send the customer object to this particular JavaTechie demo topic. Okay. Now once we send it to the topic, who will consume it? Our consumer. Now also we need to tell to the consumer, hey consumer, please consume customer object instead of string, right? So I also need to do the code change in my consumer. So go to the consumer application. First let me copy this DTO class. in consumer also you need to tell, right, what need to be consumed. So what I'll do, I will also comment all the consumer group related stuff. This is my consumer. He will point to the JavaTechie demo what I have defined just now in my producer, and instead of string message we need to tell to this consumer, please consume the object which is customer. What data type you need to consume you can specify here. Okay, so I'll change the method name to consume. So it is crying because you don't have the customer class in this particular project. So rather than keep the same class in both producer and consumer application, you can create a multi-module project, and you can create a common module, and you can keep all the common DTO or Pojo class. Okay, but for this demo purpose I am just adding it. So we have added the customer. Again, we don't have the Lombok dependency here, so just go to the producer and copy the Lombok dependency, then simply go to the consumer pom.xml and paste it. All good. Go to the listener and just import the statement. So I will just print here customer dot toString. I just want to print it the plain string. Okay, consumer consume the events. Fine. We are also specifying the topic name and group ID. So group ID you can give any name. That's it. Just go to the producer once again. Let me verify. We have defined this, right? Also what I want to do, I will keep this in try catch, so that if there is any exception while publishing the event, we can easily catch it. Just add another bracket. That's it. So here what I will just print it. Sys out, let's say error, and what is the error message we got? If there is any, get message. That's it, right? So I have started my Zookeeper and Kafka server. That is the first step you need to do before you start your application. Now we are all good. Let's run our application. So let me start the producer app. Once it will up, then I will quickly start my consumer app. So producer is up on port 9191. Go to the consumer and just start it. So it is up and running. Also it clearly says that the group ID what you have created is being assigned to the topic of 3 partition 0 1 2, because we are creating JavaTechie demo topic with 3 partition. That is what we have written in our Kafka config. That's fine. Let me clear this. This is my consumer, right? And go to the producer. Let me clear the console. Fine. Now what endpoint we need to trigger? This particular endpoint /publish, and you need to give the customer as a JSON. So I'll go to the postman. Let me check the endpoint. Producer app, yeah. This is what the producer app and publish. So I will send the customer object, ID, name, email and contact number. Now let me send this object to the from the producer app to the topic. Let's see what is the result we are getting. Status is 200. Let's see what if there is any error. Can you see here? We are getting the error here. Can't convert value of class this DTO customer to Apache Kafka common serialization string serializer specified in value serializer. What it says, usually when we are sending the messages to the topic, it will always accept byte array as a input, because we are serializing the object. We are sending the object over the network to whom? Topic. So if you look into the presentation, from the producer to the topic, we are serializing the data, okay, in the form of object or in the form of JSON. But in the consumer perspective, we are deserializing the data from producer, which we are sending the byte array over the network to the topic, and in consumer it consumes the byte array from the topic. So this is the part of serialization and deserialization concept, basic core Java. If some object you will send over the network, that must need to be serialized, and if you will read that particular object, then that must need to be that concept is called deserialize, right? That is what exactly we are doing. producer is serializing the object to the topic and consumer is deserializing the object from the topic. So that is the reason we are getting the error here, because Kafka looking for byte array to be input. So that is the reason we can happily play with the string without adding any configuration. If you send any string, that will be converted to the byte array and will publish to the topic, and consumer can consume that byte array and can convert it to the string. But if you want to play with the different type of object, then you need to tell to the Kafka, hey Kafka, while doing the serialization, please use this serializer. Or in the consumer, you can tell him, hey consumer, while deserializing that particular object, please use the deserializer what I am giving to you. Tell that I am sending the customer object, please serialize it, and consumer need to tell to the Kafka, hey, I am expecting consumer object, please deserialize it. Now how you can tell to the Kafka? Very simple. Just go to the application.yml file. You need to mention in both producer and consumer, because from the producer you are serializing the data and from the consumer you are deserializing the data. Okay, so go to the resource application.yml. Let me zoom this for you. Now here you can tell him, hey Kafka, please use this key serializer. And what is the key serializer? I am sending the key in the form of string, so use this string serializer to just convert the key. Okay, and for value serializer, use the JSON serializer. Just specify that. Very simple. So I am sending the key in the form of string. You just play with the string serializer. But the value what I am sending the customer object, for that please use this JSON serializer, because I am sending in the form of JSON. You please take that JSON and send it to the topic. Okay. And now same thing you need to tell in your consumer also. So go to the consumer, go to the application.yml. Now here in the consumer also, you need to tell him what is your key deserializer. See the word here, see the key here. In consumer, we are deserializing the data, right? So that is the reason key deserializer. What is the key deserializer? That is the same string deserializer, right? So just define it. Now what is the value deserializer? Same JSON deserializer. Just define that. Can you see here? Key serializer, key deserializer is the string deserializer, and value deserializer is the JSON deserializer, because we are not giving any key as per our example. Okay, we are playing with the value, so it's fine. You can keep string serializer and deserializer as a key for now, but we are sending the object, so serializer and deserializer must be JSON one, because we are sending the object in the form of JSON. Fine, all good. Now let's run our producer and consumer to verify whether the way we have configured for the object it is working or not. My Kafka is able to publish the object to the topic, and my consumer is consume that object from the topic or not. Okay, so very simple. Just restart. Go to the producer. First restart it. Then go to the consumer. Here also you can simply restart it. Both producer and consumer is up and running. You can see here, this is the consumer. Let me clear the console. Go to the producer. Let me clear the console. That's fine. Now let me send the request. Okay, we are getting status code 200, and then let's see whether is there any error. There is no error from the producer. Producer successfully sent this particular object. You can see here. Okay, because we are just printing the two string. Now let's verify in the consumer. There is a exception in consumer. Let me stop it now. Let's see what is the error we are getting from the consumer. Okay, the class com.javaTechie.dto.customer is not the trusted package java util java lang. If you believe this class is safe to deserialize, please provide its name. If the serialization is only done by a trusted source, you can also enable trust all. Okay, so very simple. Okay, the exception it clearly says that the DTO what you are sending or what your consumer is trying to consume is not a trusted package. So you need to tell to the Kafka, hey, if you are getting any object from this particular package, please accept it, please listen to it. Okay, that is what you can define. So just mention that in our YML file. So what I'll do, I'll tell here properties spring JSON, fine, trusted, and specify the packages, which packages you trusted to use or you are allowing your consumer to read that. So what you can do for now, our package is com.JavaTechie.dto. If you want to include any kind of package, just define the star instead of specify the single package name. Okay, com.JavaTechie.dto. Now let me restart the consumer. Producer is up and running, he is able to publish the message, there is no error, but consumer was crying, so we fixed it. Let's see whether it is able to consume or not. Yeah, can you see here? Now my consumer consumed the previous event, which is the object. This is what we have sent, right? Now to cross verify it, let me clear this. Let me clear the producer as well, and then what you can do, let me publish some different event. Okay, fine, let me send the request. Go to the producer, send the messages to the topic. Now go to the consumer. Can you see here? Consumer consume the event. This is what just now we sent, right? We're able to consume it. Fine, all good. We're able to play with the object from the producer to the consumer. But is there the only one way to play with the object by defining just the serializer and deserializer in application.yml file? No, you can customize that by defining your Java based config class. Okay, rather than add the key and value or whatever the properties in the application.yml file, still you have option to go with the Java based configuration if you want to do any customization. Okay, I will also show you that part how you can go with the Java based configuration. First let me comment this piece of code because we are not going to use the application.yml configuration. We want to write our own Java based configuration. Go to the producer as well. Let me, not all actually these things. Fine. Now go to the config class, which is Kafka producer config, and then here you can define your own configuration. When I say own configuration, whatever the things key and value you have defined in this application.yml, same things you need to configure in the Java code. I mean, you need to create a bin of it. Okay, so I'll show you how we can do that. So first create a producer config map. So public map of string object. Now create a object of map. Now all the key whatever we have defined in application.yml, that needs to be configured here. So you can define like this. Okay, producer config, what is the bootstrap server, localhost 9092, what is your key serializer, what is your value serializer. So you just need to define this at the rate bin. Fine. Now by giving this producer config, you can create producer factory object. So public, now simply you can return here new default Kafka producer factory, and you need to give this config whatever you have defined about your Kafka server, serializer, all the things. Okay, so just define that config and annotate this at the rate bin. Now again you need to create Kafka template object by giving this producer factory. Now your Kafka template will have all the information. Okay, because he is not going to read from YML, he is going to read from this config map. So let me create it. Just define this at the rate bin. That's it. Okay, so we define the config map where we have defined all the key and value, then we created the producer factory, and then we give that producer factory to the Kafka template. Now same things you need to write in your consumer as well. In consumer also you can specify the consumer config map by defining all the deserializer property and all the bootstrap server related properties. Okay, so that is also straightforward. What is the error here? Missing return statement. Okay, I need to return that map object. Fine. Now go to the consumer and do the same kind of configuration. So go to the consumer app. We already commented all the key and value from the application.yml. Now what I'll do, I'll create a new package, then quickly create a class. Fine. Just annotate this @configuration. Now again here also I need to define a consumer config map by defining all the key and value. Key deserializer, value deserializer, trusted packages, bootstrap server, group ID, everything you can configure here. Okay. So just go to the config class, just define a bin. Now you can create the object of a map. Now you can define all the key and value. So name it props, then just define all the value. Okay. So we have defined bootstrap server, key deserializer, value deserializer, and trusted package. So annotate this @bin. Next, you need to define a consumer factory by giving this consumer config. So quickly create that class public. Now return new default Kafka consumer factory and define the config, which is nothing, consumer config. Fine. Define this @bin. Now you just need to define the container factory, Kafka listener container factory. Okay. So just define that Kafka listener container factory, and we are creating the object of it, and we are giving the consumer factory here. Okay. This is the simple way we are creating the consumer config, consumer factory, and consumer listener. Okay, or Kafka listener. So the advantages of using this Java based config: if your application is straightforward, you don't want to do any customization, then you can happily go with the application.yml file. Okay, but for example, let's say you want to access a secured Kafka cluster which will be HTTPS. Okay, then in that case you need to define all the certificate and all in your producer config place. Okay, you need to define the all the SSL related information in the config class. You need to manually configure them, but that you cannot do using the application.yml file. Okay, but if you check in the consumer, there also if you want to set the concurrency level for your consumer, that you can configure here in this listener container factory. That things cannot be done using the application.yml file. So it's pretty simple. If your approach is straightforward, just to push the event to the topic and consume it without any customization, you can go with the application.yml file. But if you want any customization, then you can go with the Java based config approach. Okay, so all good. Now what I'll do, I'll just restart both producer and consumer. So it seems application is up and running. You can see here the consumer. This is the group assigned to the 3 different partition. Let's see the producer. Yeah, producer is up and running. Let me clear everything from the consumer. Clear everything. Now we comment out all the application.yml based configuration, and rather we created our own Java based config, right? So I'll go to the postman. I'll change something 123, name John, some number. Okay, now let me send the request. Status code 200. Go to the producer. Can you see here? Producer is able to publish the message. This is what the messages. Now let's verify whether consumer is consumed it or not. Yeah, can you see here? Consumer consumed the event, customer ID 123, name John, email is this, contact number is this. Okay, so this is how you can play with the object in Kafka. I mean, you can serialize and deserialize any type of object in the form of JSON using the Spring Boot Kafka. Okay, so I already explained both the approach, application.yml and Java based config. So just choose them based on your need, and do let me know in a comment section if you guys have any doubts. That's all about this particular video, guys. Thanks for watching this video. Meet you soon with a new concept.